Day 161. Carl woke up in his own bed. It was 4:30 a.m. He got back late last night. He got up, had a quick breakfast, and rode with Zeb into town. Zeb went directly to the post to pick up the outgoing messages for delivery today. Carl stopped at the diner and picked up a large coffee and walked over to his office. As he settled in his desk, he glanced at his watch. It was 5:40. He sat at his desk, watching the traffic on the street. At that hour, it amounted to little more than a few people coming and going at the diner, and the guard change at the trading post. Major Stillman himself rarely got into his office before 6:30. Buddy Tanner's man Lee watched the post and platform from the ridge where he was concealed behind the tree line. He focused the scope of his .30-06 rifle on Carl. He scribbled an entry into his notebook. He looked over toward the post and saw Hammer walking through the door. When Hammer saw the clerk, he asked for a bag of tobacco and some rolling papers. He set a bag of beef jerky on the counter and placed a small piece of silver next to it. When he was done with his transaction and began to walk out, the clerk asked, kind of as an afterthought, "Hey pal, any luck finding your brother?" Hammer stopped and told the clerk that he hadn't been able to locate him yet, but that he wasn't giving up hope. The clerk told Hammer that it occurred to him after they spoke the other day that the girl his brother was talking to was from the Baptist church, out of town to the north. Hammer walked back over to the counter and asked, "Are you certain about this?" He assured him he was. "Surprised I didn't remember it when we spoke," he said. "She hasn't been around much in the past few years since she got married, but it was her all right. She's the pastor's daughter. Went to school with my son." "Where exactly is this church?" Hammer asked. "I would like to go check it out." The clerk gave him directions and told him that Carl Fairley, the region's constable, was a member there, and maybe he had seen him. "I think he's in his office right next door," he informed Hammer. "No, I wouldn't want to bother him with my personal stuff," Hammer said. "I'm sure he's very busy. I'll go check it out for myself. Thanks, pal, I owe you." The clerk smiled as he nodded. "Good luck," he said. Hammer walked out. Carl Fairley glanced at his watch again. He got up and went into the supply closet and closed the door. He checked the picture to make sure the paperclip was still intact. He opened the safe and pulled out the ham radio. Echo 12, he repeated twice. After a few seconds, the response came. Echo 12, copy. Echo 59. Carl came back. Request transfer to Delta 1. The two men made the necessary frequency adjustment off the spreadsheet they both shared. "Contact made, package en route," Carl informed the man in the sub-basement underneath the basement in the abandoned bike shop in the northeastern section of Virginia. Retired Army Captain Edwin Nunez replied, "Roger that, Echo 59. There's one more thing, 59. "Go ahead," said Carl. "The man you met in the mountains has a partner," announced Nunez. "Roger that. I met him briefly," Carl responded. "Well, this is probably nothing. He's been squeaky clean, but he's served previously with the subject. I don't think they're in contact. He does know that he's there. He reported a 509 on him," Nunez told Carl. A 509 was a form any team member was required to fill out when they learned about the presence of any subject that the team member had had prior contact with or knowledge of. This was done to head off any possible conflicts or cover breaches. It also kept the team members honest. If they failed for any reason to file a 509, and it came out later that they knew about the subject, there could be no reconciliation to the fact that they failed to report. So the fact that Leonard filed a 509 on Major Stillman was a clear indicator that they were not working together covertly now. Still, to be on the safe side, we're going to pull the team member and reassign him, Nunez said. This was standard operating procedure and fully accepted by all involved. Roger that, was Carl's response. Also 59, be advised that we intend to add a player. The subject has a subordinate who is working closely with him. We have wanted to get another man in close to the subject, someone on the inside. We have been watching this potential new member for a while now. He has almost been completely vetted, and we continue to surveil him regularly. Our contact in Army CID passed along information that this individual has recently filed 2 complaints against the subject. Because of everything going on now, we're fast-tracking his recruitment. If the vetting completes successfully, which at this point we believe it will, expect this new member to be in place within a few weeks. Carl suspected that this new recruit was Lieutenant Saunders. It was no secret that he and the Major disagreed on how to conduct their mission in the region. Carl knew for a fact that Saunders had filed at least 1 formal complaint against the Major very recently. 10-4 was all he said to Nunez. He knew the protocols would not allow either Carl or Saunders to know the identity of the other. Carl, almost certain it was Saunders, was comforted to know this. He liked and trusted Saunders, and having him on his team pleased him. Carl asked for the next check-in to be Tuesday at noon, which of course did not mean Tuesday or noon. They signed off. Carl put the radio back in the safe and placed the picture with the paperclip arranged gingerly behind it back onto the wall. He stepped back into his office and closed the door behind him. As Little Bear was securing his spot in the railroad work crew, Hammer was cautiously making his way in circles up to where Lee was positioned. When he got there, Buddy Tanner was there as well. He told them about what the clerk remembered about Roger talking to Jillian on the platform. Buddy told Lee to hold his position and that Hammer and Little Bear would go find the church and check things out. Hammer smiled slightly, pleased that he would not have to work on the rail crew. The rail crew was 3 men short. The Barnes brothers didn't show up for work. This was nothing new, and the foreman was very angry. He went to the tent where the brothers lived and barged in full steam. It was empty. They and all their gear were gone. Well, thought the foreman, no loss there. They were lazy malcontents anyway. He was happy to finally be rid of them. They were having coffee with Tyler Hobbs and Jimmy Abbott in their camp out by the dam. They were part of the Citizens of Liberty now. To the Barnes brothers, it seemed a better gig than working for the railroad. They broke camp and started the long hike up the mountain toward the Hobbs homestead. Tyler was briefing them along the way on his plans to take the farm back from Buddy Tanner and his men. They were about halfway up the hill when they saw Les and one other man walking down the driveway. They had been walking in the woods adjacent to the driveway when they saw Tyler, Jimmy, and the Barnes brothers, and came out onto the driveway. They explained to Tyler that the 4 men had vacated early this morning, that they managed to free themselves and started walking down to find him. Tyler asked about the others, and Les told him that they were okay and back at the house. They had dug up the cache of gear and guns in back of the barn. They posted guards in the woods a ways down the driveway. Les told them he overheard Buddy and his men talking. I couldn't make out everything they said, Les informed Tyler, but they are definitely here for a specific purpose and decided to just move forward with their plans and forget about us. From the sounds of it, I don't believe they'll be coming back. Tyler did not want to rely on that. He ordered Les to put all available men in the woods on security. Cover every choke point, he told Les. I don't want anyone getting within 2 miles without us knowing about it. Put the farm on lockdown. Anybody goes outside for anything, they need to be in pairs. They had ample food and supplies to shelter in place for weeks. Tyler also had a plan to reestablish contact with Major Stillman. Les was the only other member that knew about the Major's involvement with the group. 3 members in all had known, but the third was killed by Buddy Tanner the night they took the farm. Tyler also told his men to be careful what they said in front of the Barnes brothers. He had hastily recruited them in his desperation to build his force to retake the farm. They had not yet proven themselves, and Tyler did not fully trust them. Even Jimmy Abbott, who brought them in, didn't really know them well. He went to school with Joey, the oldest, but they were never good friends, more like casual acquaintances. He didn't know his 2 brothers at all. Still, they were here now, and Tyler did need the extra manpower. He just wanted to limit the information they had on what the group had done and what their mission was going forward. To Tyler, they were just hired guns. Since they were not familiar with the woods and the trails surrounding the farm, he decided to keep them close and use them for house security and chores. This way, he could keep his eye on them as well. Buddy Tanner knew that the constable was a member of the church and that the woman who was seen talking to Roger attended. He had told Hammer that he wanted him and Little Bear to check the church out, to do a little advance recon. He reminded them that Carl Fairley was a member there and for him to be cautious of him. He and Les would remain camped outside town and wait for them to report back. If you see R, do not attempt to take him out until you get us. You're going for recon only. Is that clear? Buddy asked the 2 men. Little Bear spoke up. What if we happen to spot him off alone and get a chance for a clean kill and getaway? Hammer added, getting in and out without causing a stir could be problematic. If we get a clean kill opportunity, we should take it, Buddy. Buddy reinforced his original order. No, he said. We proceed slowly and cautiously. We came this far, and I know what Roger's capable of. There is no easy, clean kill opportunity when it comes to him. Trust me on this. Besides, I want to be there and see the life drain from his eyes. I trusted him with everything, with my own life. For him to betray that trust, it's very personal now. Little Bear looked at Hammer, who simply said, 10-4, Chief, recon only. We move out at dark. They were equipped with the PVS-30 night vision scopes, the latest in military-grade night vision technology. It allowed them to see everything for hundreds of yards in the darkest scenarios. It made sense for them to travel under the cover of darkness at night, find a place to rest during the day. They were confident that if they didn't run into any problems or delays, that they could reach the church by the next morning. They planned to find a place near the church to get a few hours sleep in the morning and be on site before noon. Back at the Patel homestead, Shima and Hira were excited about the upcoming wedding. Shima dug her wedding dress out of the attic, and Hira tried it on. Shima assured her that with a few alterations it would be perfect for her. She thanked her and promised to return it unharmed after the ceremony. No, my dear, I want you to keep it, she said. You have been like a daughter to me, and perhaps someday you will pass it on to your daughter at the time of her wedding. Hira started to cry. She embraced Shima, who had tears welling up in her eyes as well. I love you, she said. I love you too, my child, Shima told Hira. Ish, Pastor Sharps, and Dalton were still outside at the truck. Ish told the 2 that he wanted to show them something. It's about an hour-long horse ride, he said. He saddled 3 horses and told Shima that they would be camping out for the night, and asked her to send someone to notify Pastor's people that they would not be returning home till tomorrow. He loaded sleeping bags and some supplies for the trip and headed out toward the woods. They arrived an hour later at an old cottage, a small home in a little clearing at the end of the overgrown dirt driveway. They dismounted and went inside. It was dusty and run down. It had cobwebs everywhere. Ish went over to the stone fireplace and put his hand on the wooden mantel. He then turned slowly, scanning the interior of the small house. He smiled and told Dalton and Pastor that he and Shima had lived there when they first purchased the property. He said that when they first arrived here, the main house needed extensive renovations, and they lived here during that period. We were younger and very naive then, he said, but we were very happy during that time. We made a lot of good memories here, son, he told Dalton. I have seen how happy you make Hira, and it pleases me greatly. She has been like a daughter to Shima and I. I want you too to have this home, and the land it sits on. I know someday, if the Lord blesses you with children, that you will quickly outgrow this house. But you can add on to it, or move to a bigger place. I think it would be a great place for the two of you to begin your lives together. It needs a little cleaning out and some minor repairs, but nothing we cannot do together. Dalton looked at Ish and then at Pastor. Both men were smiling. He shook Ish's hand and thanked him. How can I ever repay you? He asked Ish. Ish smiled back and just said, all you have to do, young man, is please God with the way you treat your new wife. Love her and continue to love and worship the Lord. If you can do that, then you do not owe me anything more. I know that as your wife, Hira will follow you, that she will attend church with you. It saddens us to lose her from our church family, but it pleases me to know that she will always be a part of our family. And so now will you be as well. You, her, and hopefully a large home full of children that the Lord will bless you with. Come on now, let's set up camp. I'm growing hungry. That evening, as they ate and sat around the campfire, Dalton gave thanks to God for Hira, and for Ish, and Pastor Sharps as well. He thanked God for blessing him with these wonderful people. Thanks for tuning in. Be sure to come back next week, as we will find Roger facing a fight or flight situation with the members of the MC that he formerly belonged to. Please be sure to hit that like button. It helps support and grow this channel. Subscribe and share these narratives as well. Thank you. God bless you.